they will vote with him for anything he wants. And so he's given them that in order to survive politically. That hurts me. As a mother of children in the army, the fact that he's not thinking long-term about what's going to happen when this country unsustainably has 50% of the male Haredi workforce that doesn't work. So that is not long-term thinking. But Netanyahu is a son of a historian. So he's got like this whole kind of hundreds of years of history in his head, and he thinks forward. And maybe because he was thinking so much historically forward, which to him is Iran, 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 that was Netanyahu's thing. He forgot that Hamas are people who are irrational radicals in Gaza who weren't going to be bought off by the Qatari money that you kind of arranged for them. And that was his blind spot. Because he was looking so big, so global, so, so we're fighting. He's right about all these things. We are in a civilizational struggle against Islamic fundamentalism coming from Shia Iran radicals and the Muslim Brotherhood who they activate. He's right about all that. But he was so like big picture that he missed what was right in front of his nose. So I think that's right. Electoral reform. I think that the problem that the coalition system, as you say, compensates the fringe because you are needed in order to form a government. But to me, there's something deeper than that. And I know that as somebody who was a local politician for 8 years, there's no regional representation in this country. In England, you got your local MP, don't you? So if something's happening, you have where to go. In this country, you don't have your local MP or MK because nobody represents a region. People represent parties.
So just to clarify for people who don't know, so in the UK, we vote for our local MP in a local constituency.
And by that, you're voting for the entire thing. You're voting for your government and your prime minister.
The party that gets them one seat in the government,
yeah.
and the party with the most seats can form the government. Whereas here in Israel, you vote for a party and there is a list.
A list. And you're a person on a list.
So if you're number 20 on the list, you stand less chance of being in the Knesset than number 15 on the list.
Yes.
And then at the point of making the coalition to govern, you sometimes have to pick up a few members of Knesset from other parties.
So make more than 60.
Right. So in a way, our system looks at regional variation. It's a much bigger country.
Yeah.
Your system looks at, I would say, societal variation. So you might have Lieberman who appeals more to Russians. Mm-hmm. You might have Haredi parties who are very vilified, but they represent a very large portion of Israeli society.
Yeah.
So there are strengths and weaknesses to both.
Yes, but I think regional representation is fairer in the sense that it would create more accountability. And I think that's the problem with Israeli politics. Where's the accountability? There's not even a word in Hebrew, by the way. And now it's coming up with this whole... No.
Accountabilitatia.
And there's no word in Hebrew for accountability, which means that now, for example, the big debate in Israel is the national inquiry to the 7th of October. Yeah. And Netanyahu is trying to resist because he's saying that the Chief Justice, the President of the Supreme Court, is a lefty and he's going to appoint a lynch mob against him. That's his fear. And that would only represent half the country.
Is he right?
To an extent, yes. But the truth is, in all of history, when there's ever been a national inquiry, that's the way that it's been. And the president has offered a nice compromise. Okay, have him and this other more right, a conservative Supreme Court justice, both of them appointing. So there are compromises. And this is at the moment currently dividing the country. On the one hand, you could say, look, this is very divisive. On the other hand, you could say, this is a country that has taken a sitting prime minister to court over cigars and champagne, like honestly.
Do you think it's an absolute destruction like Netanyahu argues? Or do you think there is something to be answered there, especially with the submarines and things like that?
The bribery charges have already been dismissed by the judges. They've already said, listen, this case does not hold water for the bribery charges. So we're talking about breach of trust at the moment, fraud and breach of trust. Again, it's all very thin. The whole thing's very thin. And then you think, I don't want people to escape, judgment if they've done something wrong. But this whole thing smacks very politically motivated. And I'm saying, why don't you just say, okay, we'll take him to court after after he finishes being the prime minister, you know what, I don't want to do that.
This is never going to happen.
Maybe. But the other way you could say it is because they're using that to bring him down.
Sure. I think there is a great deal of truth to that. When you can't beat someone because they're such a great chess player, as you put it, then you try to look for other ways which are effectively undemocratic.
Undemocratic, exactly.
And I often try to explain to non-Israelis, especially Brits, we had Keir Starmer's glasses and his white outfits, and we have plenty of cases where there are politicians who've taken bribes. Taylor Swift concert tickets. I mean, it's amazing.
We're talking about champagne and cigars.
Politicians were bought for children's entertainer shows, basically. So champagne and cigars, same thing in a way. Like politics always has an element of, let's say, corruption. There is some, even in terms of the media influence. Do you think what Netanyahu is accused of is any different from, say, British politicians flirting with Murdoch and the Murdoch press and trying to get positive coverage there?
Absolutely. I find it, I had a conversation with Alan Dershowitz about this. As a lawyer, I'm a lawyer. And he said, well, where's the quid pro quo? So not only is favorable coverage never in history, in any jurisdiction, been considered a bribable offense. So it's not like it's a stack of cash or a house like Olmert or other things. It's that it didn't even happen, Jonathan. They're saying it's an attempted way to get favorable coverage. The favorable coverage never happened. And so the whole thing is it's just so thin in every way you look at it. I mean, some people vehemently disagree with me on this, and we have arguments about it, but it's just that the whole thing is so, I think, it smacks so politically motivated. I've got friends who've had things happen to them since, and they're like, there's something very wrong with the public prosecution to do these types of things. And again, if you want to do it, why not say, like in many other countries, we will prosecute him after he's no longer the prime minister. Why do it now? And then open up the accusation that it's politically motivated. If it's motivated by justice, wait until he's gone.
You mentioned the sort of bigger picture that has always been in Netanyahu's mind, and I think that you said that was one of Islamist and especially Iranian terrorism and extremism. That's obviously a problem which isn't just here in Israel. Now, I think many people, and I've heard you, I think, talk on this, see the world facing effectively the same enemy that Israel has actively been fighting. So how do you think, broadening things out a bit, the rest of the world should be learning from not just the last 2 years, but even the last 20 years, last 70-something years of Israel's experience? Is there stuff to learn? Because in the time that the world has been, in large part, vilifying Israel for its activities, many here tell me, well, actually, maybe you should turn around and learn from us. And just recently, there were all these armies that literally came to Israel to learn from Israel's experience over the last 2 years in the war in Gaza. Even countries that said there was a genocide and the war was being fought disproportionately then came to learn from the IDF. So are there ways in which the rest of us, the UK, especially with our issues of social cohesion and the influence of Islam, how can we be learning from Israel?
So, that brings me to the Mamdani phenomenon. But one of the things that Mamdani accused the NYPD of was, it said, the boots are laced by the IDF.
He was saying effectively that when black people or people in New York were being
subjugated or whatever,
they has learned it from the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces.
But the irony is, Jonathan, that the NYPD, some people came to Israel to learn about policing in interculturally sensitive situations.
Right.
So on the contrary, they came to Israel, the NYPD, to learn about how to be sensitive in your policing when you have mixed Jewish Arab neighborhoods, like Jerusalem, for example, like Haifa, like the mixed cities of these countries that people don't even know exist. And so everything that we're being accused of, it's the opposite. We are experts in that, in spotting radicals, and yet not having the whole population turn against us. We've made mistakes. We're a normal country, but we actually are very good at that type of thing, at policing culturally sensitive situations.
Or even now in policing foreign influence. I mean, since October the 7th, 2023, there's been an extraordinary string of stories of Israelis who have been found to be spying for Iran.